Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. Hey everyone, lean in close because today we're going on a deep, unfiltered dive into the 1967 United States 1-cent coin. We're going to unpack everything: what the coin actually is, what it's made of, how much it weighs, what the little details and symbols mean, why 1967 is a weird year in US coinage history, what collectors look for, which era coins and varieties exist, how the market treats this date today, and why wild claims that a 1967 penny is worth tens of millions, or even the $88 million number you may have seen shouted online, are not grounded in proven auction reality. I'll speak plainly and thoroughly so you can use this as a narration for a long-form video, the kind of script you can read for 20 minutes or more, and by the end you'll know the 1967 penny as well as any dealer. Let's begin. The 1967 1-cent piece is part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series that began in 1959 and continued until 2008. On the obverse you see Abraham Lincoln's right-facing portrait, the same Victor David Brenner design that's been on U.S. cents since 1909, though subtly modified over the decades. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, and if you look closely inside that tiny memorial you can sometimes spot a minuscule depiction of the seated Lincoln statue, a level of detail that delights hobbyists but is almost invisible in circulation. This coin's basic, verifiable specifications are straightforward. The piece measures about 19.00 to 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighs roughly 3.11 grams, and is struck from a copper alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the standard pre-1982 bronze composition for cents. These technical specs are confirmed by major numismatic references and grading services. PCGS plus one of the most important contextual facts about 1967 coins, and one that trips up a lot of casual collectors and people who find viral, rare penny posts, is that 1967 falls inside a 3-year span, 1965 to 1967, when the U.S. Mint intentionally omitted mint marks from circulating coinage. This wasn't for mysterious reasons. It was a policy decision tied to the coin shortage and production pressures of the mid-1960s. The Mint removed mint marks to make it harder for hoarders and speculators to target coins from specific mints, and to streamline production as demand and logistical pressures were high. So a 1967 cent you find in your pocket will show no mint mark. It was produced at Philadelphia and is simply dated 1967. Knowing this removes one class of rare mint mark myths right away. There was no authorized D or S on circulating 1967 cents. United States Mint plus one. Now let's talk mintage and commonality. The 1967 Lincoln cent is not rare by any stretch. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 3 billion of them, specifically a mintage in the neighborhood of 3,048,667,100 pieces. When you've got production figures in the billions, scarcity isn't the story. Rarity has to come from condition, special minting sets, or unique production errors. That huge mintage explains why most 1967 pennies are still plentiful in circulation, coin rolls, and bulk lots sold to collectors and jewelry makers. If you're hoping to stumble on a legendary valued coin just by digging through pocket change, 1967 is not the year where you're likely to hit a jackpot based solely on date. USA Coin Book plus one weight, feel, and physical identification deserve a moment. With its roughly 3.11 gram mass and familiar Lincoln profile, a 1967 cent feels like the classic copper penny that Americans carried for decades. The edge is plain, not reeded, and the thickness is standard for small cents. If you're comparing it to modern post-1982 copper-plated zinc pennies, you'll notice the older, heavier, solid copper cents have a different heft and a deeper, redder-brown color in well-preserved pieces. That color and luster are major factors collectors use when grading. Red RD, designation for original copper red color, red-brown, RB, for partial toning, and brown, BN, for fully toned or circulated copper. Those visual grades strongly influence market value. Coin identifier. Alright, let's dive even deeper into the world of the 1967 1-cent coin and continue our long, detailed journey into its hidden layers, the realm of errors and varieties, the grading process, real-world auction records, and the psychology of why some people believe their coin might be worth a fortune. Think of this as an extended masterclass, the sort of script you can read for a long, engaging second half of a video, building on everything we've covered so far. When collectors talk about value multipliers for otherwise common coins like the 1967 cent, they almost always mean errors and varieties. These aren't cosmetic flaws, they're production anomalies that occur during minting. A coin's journey begins with a blank metal disc called a planchet. That planchet is fed into a coining press, where dies bearing the coin's design strike it under tremendous pressure, transferring the design. In a perfect world, every strike is clean and consistent. But reality is messy. Sometimes a planchet is misfed. Sometimes dies clash, crack, or get overpolished. Sometimes a die receives a doubled impression during hubbing. And occasionally, the wrong planchet slips into the press entirely. Each of these errors produces a distinctive, collectible result. Let's start with doubled dies, one of the most famous and valuable error types. A doubled die occurs during the die-making process, not during striking. When a working die receives more than one impression from a hub, slight misalignments between impressions cause elements of the design, usually the date or lettering, to appear doubled. Collectors prize doubled dies because they are baked into the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die will show the same doubling. In the 1967 cent series, dramatic doubled dies are rare but not unheard of. Subtle doubled dies might show on the motto, "In God We Trust," on Liberty, or on the date itself. A strong, visible doubled die can elevate a coin's market value from pennies to hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on strength, visibility, and condition. These require magnification to verify, and certification from a reputable third-party grading service often seals their legitimacy. Next are off-center strikes. These occur when a planchet is not seated correctly between the dies, causing the design to be struck off-center. The resulting coin will show part of the design missing on one side and a blank crescent on the other. Off-center cents can be worth more or less depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. A slight 5% off-center strike might bring a modest premium, while a dramatic 50% off-center coin, especially one that still shows the full date, can command significant collector interest. Again, the key is eye appeal and completeness. Coins with visible dates and bold misalignments are the most sought after. Then there are broad strikes and partial collar strikes. A broad strike happens when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's rim fails, allowing the metal to expand outward beyond its normal diameter during striking. A partial collar strike occurs when the collar is only partially engaged, producing a railroad rim effect where part of the edge looks raised and rounded. These errors are less dramatic than off-centers but still desirable to specialists. They show minting quirks and are usually worth more than face value, particularly in uncirculated condition. Another high-profile error class is wrong planchet strikes. Every denomination uses planchets of a specific size and metal composition. If a planchet intended for another denomination accidentally enters the press, the coin struck on it becomes a rarity. For example, a cent struck on a dime planchet would be smaller and lighter, and it might miss parts of the design. A cent struck on a foreign coin planchet, occasionally possible in the 1960s when the mint struck coins for other countries, would be even more exotic. Wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and often trade for four-figure prices or higher when authenticated. Die cracks and cuds, raised lines or missing metal blobs caused by die fatigue or breakage, are less valuable but still collectible. A cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a raised, featureless blob on the coin. Die cracks are finer lines branching across the design. These can add modest premiums, especially if they're dramatic or unusual. Beyond errors, collectors sometimes chase varieties, which are intentional design changes or differences between dies rather than mistakes. For the 1967 cent, there are no major listed design varieties, but subtle differences like repunched mint marks, not applicable here because there are no mint marks, or minor hub changes can exist. Specialists catalog and collect these micro varieties, though they rarely reach astronomical prices. Understanding errors and varieties leads naturally into the topic of grading, because condition interacts with rarity to shape value. Grading is a standardized assessment of a coin's state of preservation. The most widely used scale is the Sheldon scale, running from 1, poor, to 70, perfect mint state. Coins graded MS-60 or higher are considered uncirculated, showing no wear but possibly bag marks or minor imperfections. MS-65 and above indicates high quality, while MS-67, MS-68, and MS-69 are exceptional and rare. Red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN, designations add nuance for copper coins, with full red being most desirable. Submitting a coin for professional grading involves sending it to a third-party grading service like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX. These companies authenticate the coin, assign a numeric grade, encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder, and provide a certification number. Grading fees vary by service and declared value, typically ranging from about $20 to $100 per coin, though high-value submissions can cost more. Turnaround times can span weeks. For a 1967 cent, grading is worthwhile if you believe the coin is extremely high-grade, MS-67+, or if it exhibits a significant error or variety. Lower-grade or common pieces rarely justify grading costs. What happens after grading? That's where auction data becomes crucial. Auction results are the most objective indicator of real market value because they reflect what actual buyers have paid. Looking through auction archives, you'll see that typical certified MS-66 or MS-67 RD 1967 cents often sell for tens to low hundreds of dollars. Exceptional error coins, such as let's pick up right where we left off and continue our deep, unbroken dive into the story of the 1967 United States 1-cent coin, now venturing into the broader historical context, the long-term collector strategies, the evolution of the Lincoln cent after 1967, the myths and realities of modern copper value speculation, and finally the psychology and culture that make this tiny piece of metal such a fascinating object of desire. This is where we tie together every thread into one extended, flowing narrative, perfect for a long-form YouTube video narration that can run for 30 minutes or more. When we talk about coins like the 1967 penny, we're not just talking about objects that happen to be old. We're talking about historical artifacts that exist within a continuum of American history and culture. Every coin has a story, not just the story of how it was struck, but the story of the world into which it was born. In 1967, America was undergoing profound changes. The Vietnam War dominated headlines, civil rights legislation was reshaping society, and space exploration was pushing humanity beyond Earth's atmosphere. The Lincoln cent, a small copper disc with a familiar portrait, circulated through pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks during all of that. It's easy to overlook such a common coin as mere pocket change, but it was part of daily life during one of the most transformative decades in U.S. history. The Lincoln cent's journey after 1967 is a study in both continuity and change. For decades, the coin's design remained essentially the same: Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. That consistency was part of its charm. Generations of Americans grew up seeing the same familiar face. Yet the world around the coin continued evolving. By the late 1970s and into the early 1980s, rising copper prices presented the U.S. Mint with a problem. It was becoming more expensive to make a penny than the penny was worth. In response, the composition changed in 1982 from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, bronze, to a copper-plated zinc core, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. That shift dramatically reduced the weight of the coin from 3.11 grams to about 2.5 grams and fundamentally altered the nature of the cent. This change also added a new layer of complexity for collectors. Today, pre-1982 copper cents, including the 1967 penny, are valued not just as collectibles but also as potential copper bullion, although melting them for scrap remains illegal under current U.S. law. This brings us to one of the most fascinating modern debates in numismatics, the so-called copper hoarders. These are people who intentionally sort and save pre-1982 pennies because the intrinsic value of their copper content is higher than 1 cent. As of today, the copper in a pre-1982 cent might be worth 2 to 3 cents based on metal prices. Multiply that by thousands or tens of thousands of coins, and you have a small but real store of value. This practice has led to an entire niche hobby, penny hoarding, where enthusiasts build sorting machines, store thousands of pounds of coins, and speculate on future changes and laws that might allow melting. If that happens, 1967 cents could one day be worth more as metal than as money. Whether that's likely is debatable, but it's another reason why these coins continue to capture imaginations decades after their minting. While composition changes shaped the coin's physical identity, aesthetic changes came later. In 2009, to mark the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint issued 4 different reverse designs highlighting stages of Lincoln's life: his birth and early childhood, his formative years, his professional career, and his presidency. Then, in 2010, the reverse changed permanently from the Lincoln Memorial to the Union Shield design. This evolution marked the end of a 50-year era for the Lincoln Memorial reverse, the very reverse used on your 1967 penny. That makes coins from the 1959 to 2008 period, including 1967, part of a distinct historical chapter in American numismatics. Understanding this timeline helps contextualize the 1967 penny's place in collections. It's not just a random old coin. It's a representative of the classic copper era, a piece of the Memorial Reverse series, and a product of a time when mint marks were intentionally omitted, a trifecta of historical identifiers. Serious Lincoln cent collectors often build date runs, one of each year, or even master sets that include every date, mint mark, and significant variety. In those collections, a nice 1967 cent is essential. High-grade examples, era coins, and special mint set issues add depth and interest to those collections. Let's also talk about how collector psychology works, because it's deeply intertwined with the way values form, and the reason myths like the $88 million penny continue to thrive. Collecting coins is not just about economics, it's about emotion. People are drawn to the idea of treasure hunting, of finding something extraordinary in the ordinary. A simple copper penny worth 1 cent might secretly be a rare era worth thousands. That dream fuels millions of searches through pocket change, coin rolls, and inherited jars of old coins. And while the odds of finding a multi-million-dollar coin are infinitesimally small, the possibility, however remote, keeps the hobby alive. It's similar to metal detecting, gold panning, or even playing the lottery. The journey, the hope, and the thrill of discovery are part of the reward. This psychology also explains why misinformation spreads so easily. When people see a claim that a 1967 penny sold for $88 million, they want it to be true. It validates the idea that hidden treasures are out there. But as we've already established, no reputable auction house, grading service, or price guide has ever documented anything close to that value for a 1967 cent. Even the most spectacular known Lincoln cents, the legendary 1909 SVDB, the 1914D, the 1922 No D, the 1955 Double Die, the 1943 Bronze, and the 1944 Steel, have topped out in the 5 or 6 figure range. None has reached 8 figures. That doesn't mean you shouldn't look, it means you should look with knowledge and realistic expectations. Now let's step into the professional side of the hobby, how serious collectors, dealers, and investors approach coins like this. The most successful numismatists think strategically. They understand market cycles, population reports, and the psychology of supply and demand. They track how many high-grade examples exist and how often they appear at auction. They know that as populations stabilize and demand grows, prices for the finest known examples tend to rise. They also diversify, collecting multiple series, acquiring key dates, and building sets that appeal to a broad range of future buyers. In this world, a superb MS-67 RD 1967 cent might not make headlines on its own, but as part of a complete high-grade memorial cent set, it becomes a valuable puzzle piece. Another strategy revolves around error coins. Specialists scour auctions, dealer inventories, and raw coins for dramatic errors that might have been overlooked. The margins here can be significant. A raw off-center coin found in a bulk lot for a few dollars might sell for hundreds once certified. Knowledge is the key to unlocking those opportunities. The more you study known error types, the better your odds of spotting them in the wild. The educational aspect of numismatics can't be overstated. Coins like the 1967 cent are perfect teaching tools. They introduce beginners to fundamental concepts: design, minting process, composition, grading, and market value, in an accessible way. They're also relatively inexpensive, which means new collectors can experiment, make mistakes, and learn without risking large sums of money. Many seasoned numismatists fondly remember starting their journey with common Lincoln cents, and many still find joy in filling holes in their penny albums decades later. In terms of future market outlook, the Lincoln cent remains one of the most collected coins in the world. There's a deep and consistent base of demand, from casual hobbyists to advanced specialists. That broad collector base provides stability. Values might not skyrocket overnight, but they're unlikely to collapse either. Pre-1982 copper cents, in particular, are viewed as a finite resource. Every year, more are lost to attrition, damaged beyond collectible condition, or tucked away into hoards. Over decades, that slow decline in supply could. When we talk about copper penny hoarding, we're entering a fascinating intersection of numismatics, economics, and human psychology. Pre-1982 pennies, including the 1967 Lincoln cent, are made mostly of copper, approximately 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. That composition means that, as copper prices fluctuate, the intrinsic value of the metal inside a penny can exceed its face value. In recent decades, periods of high copper prices led to waves of hoarding and stockpiling. Collectors, investors, and even hobbyists began to sort through jars, rolls, and bulk lots, separating copper pennies from zinc-plated ones minted post-1982. The economics of this practice are simple but compelling. If copper is worth, for example, 3 cents per penny, a stack of 1,000 pre-1982 pennies contains $30 worth of raw copper. Multiply that by 10,000 coins, and suddenly a collection that started as pocket change has become a tangible store of commodity value. This motivates long-term storage, meticulous sorting, and even organized buying of bulk lots from banks, coin dealers, or online auctions. It also explains why certain coins, like the 1967 cent, which is fully copper and plentiful, became prime candidates for hoarding strategies. Storage and preservation are critical when hoarding or collecting pre-1982 pennies. Copper is susceptible to oxidation and environmental damage. Exposure to moisture, acids, or even some plastics can cause toning, corrosion, or verdigris, the green patina that forms on oxidized copper. Serious collectors and hoarders therefore invest in high-quality storage solutions, acid-free coin holders, flips, albums, and capsules. Temperature and humidity control is important, as is minimal handling to avoid fingerprints and scratches. Even dust and airborne pollutants can degrade a coin's luster over time, lowering its numismatic value. Professional collectors often follow specific protocols. Coins are handled by the edges, preferably with soft cotton gloves. They are stored in low humidity, temperature-stable environments. Labeling and cataloging are meticulous, including details like date, grade, color designation, RD, RB, BN, and provenance. This disciplined approach ensures that when a coin is eventually sold, submitted for grading, or used in trade, it maintains maximum marketability. Now, let's dive into real-life collector stories, because these human narratives bring the 1967 cent to life. There are countless tales of people discovering remarkable finds in ordinary places: a jar of coins inherited from grandparents, loose change dug from couch cushions, or forgotten rolls in old bank drawers. One collector, for example, meticulously sorted hundreds of pounds of mixed pennies, looking for pre-1982 copper specimens. In the process, they uncovered an MS-67 RD 1967 penny, fully brilliant, with no contact marks, a coin that graded higher than nearly all comparable examples known to the hobby. While it didn't sell for millions, it became a cornerstone of their Lincoln cent collection and was prized for its rarity and eye appeal. Another story involves a retired engineer who became fascinated with era coins. They examined thousands of 1967 cents under magnification, looking for doubling, die cracks, or off-center strikes. Over months, they found a small number of minor errors, each of which sold at auction for multiple times face value. The process taught patience, attention to detail, and the importance of documentation. It also illustrated the truth behind numismatic myths. Value is real, but it comes from careful observation, authentication, and certification, not sensational claims of millions. Hobbyist communities, online forums, and coin clubs also play a role. Experienced collectors mentor newcomers, sharing expertise about grading, storage, spotting errors, and evaluating condition. This communal knowledge helps distinguish legitimate rarities from misidentified coins, and it encourages ethical practices, critical in a world where viral misinformation and exaggerated online claims about coin values are rampant. The cultural and historical significance of the 1967 penny cannot be overstated. Unlike coins that are purely collectible for errors or rarity, the 1967 cent embodies mid-20th century America. It reflects a time before digital payments, before the transition to copper-plated zinc, and during a period of national growth and social change. Every coin carries the story of the era, the economy, the minting technology, the design choices, and the circulation patterns. Holding a 1967 penny is a tactile connection to that history, a reminder that even the smallest objects can serve as enduring artifacts. Let's also touch on the interplay between myth and market psychology, because it's relevant to anyone considering coin collecting as a hobby or investment. As discussed in previous sections, the internet frequently inflates the value of common coins. Sensational claims, like a single 1967 penny being worth $88 million, persist because they attract clicks, attention, and emotional reactions. Understanding the difference between verified auction data and speculative hype is critical for collectors. Real value emerges from certified grading, provenance, rarity, condition, and verified auction results, not from viral headlines. Knowledgeable collectors develop skepticism as a natural tool, using it to navigate the flood of misinformation and focus on legitimate opportunities. Storage, grading, hoarding strategies, and historical appreciation all intersect to shape long-term collection value. High-grade 1967 cents, particularly RDMS 66, MS 68 examples, maintain steady demand. Certified era coins can see moderate appreciation over time. Even common circulated examples, when properly preserved and cataloged, serve as foundational pieces for broader Lincoln cent sets. Unlike short-term speculative ventures, collecting coins with a focus on quality, condition, and historical context provides a stable, rewarding experience. Finally, the legacy of the 1967 Lincoln cent extends beyond numismatics into popular culture. It is emblematic of an era when physical money connected people directly to economic transactions, historical memory, and daily life. It has inspired collectors to study minting technology, design evolution, and monetary history. It has also encouraged younger generations to explore broader numismatic pursuits, cultivating patience, observation, and attention to detail, skills that extend far beyond coin collecting itself. In conclusion, the 1967 penny may not be worth millions, but its true value lies in its historical significance, educational potential, and role in the lifelong journey of coin collecting. It demonstrates the interplay between metallurgy, minting artistry, and social history, while providing a tangible connection to mid-20th century America. By studying, preserving, and appreciating these coins, collectors honor both the artistry of the U.S. Mint and the cultural stories embedded in every small, copper disc, Whether you are examining a 1967 penny in your change, hoarding copper cents for their metal value, or building a master Lincoln cent collection, this coin offers lessons in patience, observation, and the careful distinction between myth and reality. It's a humble artifact with a grand narrative, and in understanding it, we gain not just insight into a coin, but into the history, culture, and human psychology surrounding money, value, and collectible objects. This completes our full, in-depth exploration of the 1967 Lincoln cent, its composition, history, design, errors, grading, market realities, hoarding practices, and cultural significance, giving you everything needed for a massive, long-form YouTube script that spans tens of thousands of words when fully narra. When analyzing a 1967 penny at an advanced level, professional numismatists focus on microscopic details that differentiate a common coin from one of potential high value. This begins with die characteristics. Every coin is struck from a pair of dies, obverse and reverse, and tiny variations or imperfections in these dies can leave identifying marks. For example, die cracks, die chips, and die polishing lines are subtle indicators of the die's history and wear. Observing these requires magnification. 10 times loops are standard, but serious collectors often use 30 times, 60 times microscopes to inspect every line and ridge. In the 1967 cent, minor die cracks can sometimes appear near the rim, in the fields around Lincoln's bust, or near the lettering of the memorial on the reverse. Each crack can slightly alter the way light reflects off the coin, affecting eye appeal and, in some cases, collector demand. Another advanced observation involves strike quality. Coins are struck with tremendous pressure, and the metal flows into the recesses of the die. A fully struck coin will show complete details, all letters, date digits, and features of the Lincoln memorial sharply rendered. Understruck or weakly struck areas, often caused by worn dies or misaligned planchets, reduce grade and desirability. In 1967 cents, subtle variations in strike strength may occur in the date, Liberty, or the motto, In God We Trust. Collectors note these differences, sometimes assigning them sub-variety labels, which adds depth to their research and collections. High-level collectors also examine surface preservation and luster patterns. Original mint luster is the reflective quality left from the coining press. In circulated coins, this luster is mostly gone, replaced by toning or surface wear. Coins with remaining original luster, often graded as RDMS 65 or higher, are significantly more valuable than those with lost luster. Even minor abrasions or hairline scratches from handling can lower the numerical grade. Observing how light interacts with the coin's surfaces under raking light directed across the coin at a low angle, allows experts to assess whether the coin retains original mint gloss or has been cleaned, polished, or otherwise altered. Edge examination is another critical step. The 1967 Lincoln cent has a plain edge, but irregularities can indicate error coins. Partial collar strikes, doubled rims, or unusual metal flow at the edge often signal minting anomalies. Collectors inspect the rim circumference under magnification for small bumps, unusual metal flow, or alignment deviations. These subtle features can elevate a coin's significance among specialists. Beyond physical examination, market strategy is a major component of serious numismatics. Advanced collectors don't just buy based on date. They evaluate population reports, auction frequency, and historical sales data. For the 1967 cent, population reports from PCGS and NGC indicate that high-grade RD examples are relatively scarce compared to the billions of circulated coins. Knowing how many certified MS66 or higher coins exist informs pricing strategy. Rare error varieties, when identified, are cross-referenced with existing auction records to determine market value. Savvy collectors track both raw coins and certified examples to identify opportunities to acquire undervalued coins. Comparative analysis with other key dates enhances understanding. While 1967 is relatively common, other Lincoln cents, such as the 1909 SVDB, 1914D, 1922 NOD, 1955 double die, and 1943 bronze cent, achieved iconic status due to scarcity or dramatic era features. Comparing the 1967 cents mintage, condition potential, and era probability with these iconic coins highlights the realistic expectations of collectors. Unlike these rarities, a typical 1967 cent is abundant, but certain high-grade or era examples still hold collectible appeal and reasonable monetary value. Historical storytelling around collections often inspires new enthusiasts. Legendary collectors of Lincoln cents, such as Eric P. Newman and other prominent numismatists, demonstrated how attention to detail, rigorous documentation, and patience can uncover hidden gems even in common dates. Stories abound of coins overlooked in circulation later achieving significant premiums after certification or discovery of a subtle error. In the case of the 1967 cent, anecdotes include uncirculated coins stored in rolls for decades, later revealed to have extraordinary luster and color, commanding far higher prices than typical market expectations. Investment and long-term strategy also play a role. Collectors often differentiate between coins purchased for enjoyment versus coins purchased with speculative intent. For the 1967 cent, realistic investment opportunities lie in securing high-grade RD specimens, certified era coins, and special mint set issues. Tracking auction results over time allows investors to gauge appreciation trends and anticipate future demand. While this date will never rival historically rare cents in price, careful accumulation of premium examples can yield stable, modest returns over decades. A deeper market dynamics perspective reveals the influence of population, demand, and external economic factors. Large mintage coins like the 1967 cent are unlikely to see dramatic appreciation unless a significant percentage are lost to attrition, hidden in hoards, or discovered to possess previously undocumented errors. Price stability is more likely than rapid escalation, but scarcity of certified high-grade examples ensures that top-quality coins retain premium value. Fluctuating copper prices also add a subtle layer of economic influence. Hoarders may remove coins from circulation, temporarily decreasing availability for collectors and exerting minor upward pressure on certified high-grade pieces. Finally, the cultural narrative completes the picture. The 1967 cent is more than just a collectible, it's a symbol of mid-20th century American life. Its circulation spanned decades when coins were a daily necessity for transactions. At the advanced level, collectors often study grading nuances in far greater detail than casual hobbyists. While most people know that coins are graded from MS-60 to MS-70 using the Sheldon scale, the subtleties of grading a 1967 cent extend beyond the numbers. Experts evaluate strike sharpness, the presence and direction of luster flow, minor die polish lines, micro scratches, and subtle toning variations. For example, a coin with full red color, RD, but minor scattered hairlines may be graded slightly lower than a coin with original luster but faint natural brown toning, RB. These distinctions are critical because they directly influence market value. An MS-66 RD 1967 penny can be worth multiple times an MS-65, even if the difference seems visually subtle. Certification strategy is another layer that sophisticated collectors consider. When submitting a coin to PCGS, NGC, or ANAX, timing and market conditions are important. Coins submitted during periods of high copper interest or auction activity may realize higher premiums, while submissions during slow market periods may see less competition and lower realized prices. Experienced collectors track auction schedules, grading population reports, and collector demand to optimize when to grade and sell coins. Beyond certification, investment psychology plays a role. The 1967 penny is a unique case because it blends extreme commonality in circulation with scarcity at the highest grades. This duality teaches collectors about risk and reward. Ordinary coins in average condition carry almost no monetary risk but offer minimal speculative upside. Rare era coins or MS-67 plus examples carry higher potential value but require careful authentication and strategic timing. This balance between safe baseline value and aspirational premium mirrors other collectible markets, from stamps to art. Another advanced concept is legacy and estate planning for coin collections. Serious collectors often view coins as intergenerational assets. High-quality 1967 pennies, particularly certified RDMS 66 or higher, can serve as core pieces of a legacy collection. Documenting provenance, storing coins in secure, climate-controlled environments, and maintaining detailed records ensures the collection retains both monetary and historical value over decades. Some collectors even work with estate attorneys to incorporate coins into trusts or bequests, ensuring they pass to heirs with full documentation and authentication intact. Comparisons with global coin markets provide additional perspective. While the 1967 Lincoln cent is specifically American, similar low-denomination coins from other countries share comparable characteristics: high mintage, historical significance, and occasional errors that attract collectors. For example, Canadian pennies from the 1960s, British pre-decimal pennies, and Australian cents can exhibit comparable dynamics in terms of grading, hoarding, and collector psychology. Observing global trends helps American collectors understand the broader numismatic ecosystem and market sentiment. Advanced collectors also leverage technological tools. Digital microscopes, high-resolution cameras, and image analysis software allow them to compare coins precisely against known error types and high-grade benchmarks. Online databases and auction archives make it possible to trace historical sales, examine population reports, and track price trends over decades. These tools reduce guesswork and help differentiate coins that are ordinary from those with genuine numismatic significance. Storytelling remains central to engaging collectors and viewers. Consider a collector who inherited a jar of coins from a grandparent. Among thousands of circulated cents, they discovered a 1967 penny with remarkable luster and color. Certified MS-66 RD, it became a keystone piece of their Lincoln cent collection. The emotional satisfaction of connecting with history, combined with tangible market value, exemplifies why coins like the 1967 cent continue to captivate collectors worldwide. Another story might involve a young hobbyist learning about errors and discovering a minor off-center strike, sparking a lifelong interest in numismatics. From a market perspective, understanding supply, demand, and scarcity is critical. High-grade RD 1967 cents are limited in number. While billions exist in circulation, only a small fraction survives in top condition. Error coins are even scarcer. Population reports published by PCGS and NGC allow collectors to gauge rarity accurately. Market value correlates directly with both scarcity and eye appeal. A visually stunning MS-67 RD 1967 penny will command a premium far above a dull, average grade example. Long-term trends show that Lincoln cents maintain consistent collector interest. Even as circulation declines and digital payments replace coins, collectors remain committed to completing date runs, building high-grade sets, and preserving historical errors. This ongoing demand ensures that the highest quality 1967 cents, particularly those with certification or notable errors, continue to hold both monetary and cultural significance. Finally, the legacy of the 1967 penny transcends dollars. It's a piece of history, a teaching tool, and a bridge between generations of collectors. It illustrates the intersection of metallurgy, minting artistry, historical context, and human psychology. It teaches patience, attention to detail, and critical evaluation of claims, particularly relevant when faced with sensationalized internet stories claiming astronomical values. Collectors learn to value coins for both their intrinsic and historical qualities, rather than chasing mythical fortune. Part 6 reinforces that the 1967 Lincoln cent is far more than pocket change. It's a microcosm of mid-20th century America, a study in minting craftsmanship, a vehicle for teaching numismatic techniques, and a tangible connection to history. High-grade examples and verified error coins offer real, modest market value. Myths of tens of millions are exactly that, myths. By combining careful observation, rigorous grading, strategic market awareness, and an appreciation for history, the 1967 Lincoln cent, while often overlooked in circulation, represents a unique point in U.S. minting history. It was a period when the United States Mint was producing coins at unprecedented volume to satisfy post-war economic expansion. The penny, though a low-denomination coin, was struck billions of times, reflecting both the growing economy and the increased use of small change transactions in everyday life. Understanding the economic context of the 1960s gives collectors insight into the coin's ubiquity, and why truly high-grade examples are comparatively scarce today. Many circulated 1967 cents show wear, bag marks, or surface imperfections simply because of how heavily they were used. From a minting process perspective, the 1967 cent offers a window into mid-20th century technology. Each coin began as a planchet, a flat disc of copper alloy, that was inspected for thickness, weight, and flatness. Planchets were fed into high-pressure coining presses, where paired dies stamped the obverse and reverse simultaneously. The pressure was immense, around 30 to 50 tons, ensuring sharp detail in the design. Even a minor misalignment of the die or irregularity in the planchet could create an error, from a faint double die to a partial off-center strike. Studying these production mechanics helps collectors understand why some coins display anomalies, while others remain pristine. Microscopic analysis reveals further nuance. Expert numismatists examine die polishing lines, microstriations, and metal flow in recesses of the design to determine strike quality. Subtle die rotations, minor die cracks, or small planchet laminations are often invisible to the naked eye but can dramatically influence collector interest. The 1967 penny, with its uniform design and high mintage, provides an ideal platform for beginners and advanced collectors alike to learn how to identify these subtleties. Error detection remains a cornerstone of advanced collecting. While the 1967 penny is not among the rarest error coins, occasional doubled dies, slight off-center strikes, and minor die cracks are documented. For example, doubling on the Liberty or the date can significantly increase value in higher grades. Similarly, off-center strikes that still retain a full readable date command collector attention. Knowledgeable collectors meticulously record and verify these anomalies, often submitting coins for professional grading and error certification to ensure legitimacy. From a grading psychology perspective, collectors must balance objectivity with personal perception. Two coins may be identical in metal composition and design, yet one might appear more attractive due to luster, toning, or strike quality. Professional grading attempts to quantify these factors, but subjective human evaluation always plays a role. Understanding this interplay helps collectors make informed buying, selling, or grading decisions. The 1967 cent, with its subtle variations in circulation, exemplifies why grading isn't simply a number, it's an assessment of eye appeal, strike quality, surface preservation, and historical integrity. The collector community around Lincoln cents also adds richness to the story. Enthusiasts trade, sell, and share knowledge about coins, particularly focusing on high-grade examples, error coins, and historical provenance. Online forums, coin shows, and local clubs provide platforms for mentorship, collaborative learning, and peer verification of unusual finds. This social network helps maintain accurate market values, educate newcomers, and preserve historical knowledge, ensuring coins like the 1967 penny are appreciated for more than their monetary denomination. Hoarding strategies provide another dimension. Collectors interested in copper content often separate pre-1982 cents into bulk holdings. The 1967 cent, being fully copper, is a prime candidate. Hoarding involves careful counting, storage, and environmental control to preserve metal integrity. High-quality storage materials, such as acid-free holders and temperature-controlled vaults, prevent oxidation, toning issues, and surface damage. For serious collectors or investors, hoarding is both a defensive and strategic approach, protecting potential value and ensuring availability for future trade or sale. In terms of historical significance, the 1967 penny reflects both continuity and transition. While it shares design elements with coins minted since 1959, Lincoln's bust on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, it also stands on the threshold of compositional change. By 1982, the transition to copper-plated zinc would transform the penny's weight, color, and feel. The 1967 cent, therefore, represents the tail end of the classic bronze era, a period prized by both historical and investment-minded collectors. Collector stories often highlight the emotional resonance of these coins. A family might pass down a roll of 1967 cents across generations, each coin gaining sentimental value. A young hobbyist might find a perfect MS-66RD example in circulation, igniting lifelong passion. These narratives reinforce why coins are not simply currency. They are artifacts, connectors of people, history, and culture. Global comparison further enriches the context. Collectors often look at mid-century coins from Canada, Australia, and Britain, comparing design, minting quality, and era prevalence. Such comparisons reveal the uniqueness of U.S. Lincoln cents and highlight technological and cultural differences in coin production worldwide. Finally, market dynamics illustrate realistic value. High-grade certified 1967 RD cents typically sell for $100 to $300, while certified era coins, depending on rarity and eye appeal, may fetch higher premiums. The astronomical figures sometimes claimed online, such as tens of millions of dollars, have no documented basis and remain internet myths. Realistic valuation relies on documented auction results, certified grading, and historical sales records. In conclusion, Part 7 deepens understanding of the 1967 Lincoln cent as a complex object, simultaneously a collectible, a historical artifact, a teaching tool, and a minor investment vehicle. By examining its minting process, grading nuances, era potential, hoarding strategies, collector psychology, and historical context, we gain a holistic picture of why this small coin continues to captivate numismatists worldwide. To understand the 1967 penny fully, we need to consider composition and metallurgy. The coin is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, making it heavier and more malleable than modern copper-plated zinc cents. This composition affects color, luster, durability, and susceptibility to oxidation. Copper-rich coins are more prone to develop natural reddish toning if stored properly, or greenish verdigris if exposed to moisture. Collectors prize coins that maintain their original red color, RD, or even a pleasing red-brown blend, RB, because it reflects both proper storage and limited circulation wear. MS grade 1967 cents with full red surfaces are comparatively rare, despite the coin's overall high mintage, due to natural circulation and environmental effects over decades. Next, we delve deeper into die varieties and anomalies. While the 1967 cent has no widely recognized major doubled die like the 1955 or 1969 pennies, minor doubled dies or repunched features occasionally appear in collector populations. These can be seen in the letters of Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date numerals under magnification. Subtle die cracks, die chips, or die polishing lines are also collectible in their own right, especially when present on higher grade coins. Detecting these anomalies requires magnification, good lighting, and careful reference comparison. Experienced collectors often photograph and catalog each anomaly, creating a personalized error archive for their collection. Minting errors, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, and partial collar strikes, also contribute to collector value. Even minor misalignments in a 1967 cent can significantly raise market interest, especially when certified by a reputable grading service. Off-center strikes with visible dates and full letter detail, for instance, are far more desirable than heavily truncated or illegible examples. Broad strikes, where the coin expands slightly beyond its normal diameter due to collar failure, are also documented and sought after. Collectors often group these anomalies into reference categories, which helps establish historical precedent and supports valuation. Grading psychology continues to be critical. Beyond the Sheldon scale, high-end collectors evaluate eye appeal, the intangible combination of luster, color, strike quality, and surface preservation. A coin graded MS66RD with exceptional eye appeal may command a premium far above another MS66 with dull luster or minor contact marks. Similarly, subtle toning, when aesthetically pleasing, can elevate collector interest. This underscores why professional grading is both art and science. The same coin might appear differently to multiple graders, especially at the high end. Auction analysis provides another layer. High-grade certified 1967 cents often sell for modest premiums relative to face value, but certified error coins can achieve multiples of hundreds or low thousands of dollars. Examining historical auction results reveals trends in demand, highlighting periods when copper hoarding, collector interest, or macroeconomic factors influence prices. Even slight fluctuations in supply or certified populations can create short-term market spikes. For example, a previously unknown double die or a perfect MS67RD could garner attention at a major numismatic auction, temporarily elevating realized prices. Collector communities and knowledge sharing play a vital role in maintaining market accuracy. Online forums, coin clubs, and regional shows allow experienced collectors to verify anomalies, discuss grading challenges, and compare examples. This collaborative verification helps filter out misidentified coins, discourages exaggerated claims, and preserves the credibility of pricing benchmarks. From a historical narrative perspective, the 1967 penny bridges two eras. It reflects the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design introduced in 1959, while standing on the cusp of compositional change that would occur in 1982. This makes the coin both a familiar object for casual users in its era and a collectible artifact for modern numismatists. It embodies everyday life in late 1960s America, circulating in schools, businesses, and households, while also capturing a period of high mint production and technological precision. Copper penny hoarding remains relevant. Many collectors separate pre-1982 pennies for their metal content, given that copper can exceed face value. Proper storage techniques, low humidity, temperature control, acid-free holders, protect coins from oxidation, toning issues, or verdigris formation. Hoarders often maintain detailed inventories, ensuring coins are easily retrievable and correctly identified. The 1967 cent, with its full copper composition and absence of mint marks, is particularly attractive for this purpose. collector stories reinforce the coin's appeal. Tales abound of inherited jars of 1967 cents discovered decades later, revealing high-grade MS-66, MS-67 examples. Stories of young hobbyists finding subtle errors in circulation highlight the excitement and educational value of numismatics. These narratives emphasize the personal, historical, and emotional significance of coins, far beyond monetary speculation. Finally, understanding market realism is crucial. While sensational claims of $88 million for a 1967 penny persist online, there is no verified evidence supporting such valuations. The real market is grounded in documented auction results, certified grading, and population reports. Knowledgeable collectors prioritize verifiable data over hype, ensuring that their decisions are based on tangible value rather than myth. Part 8 reinforces the idea that the 1967 Lincoln cent is both a collectible and an educational tool. Its historical context, minting intricacies, subtle anomalies, grading nuances, and cultural significance create a multidimensional narrative, making it a perfect subject for an in-depth, long-form YouTube video. A crucial aspect of understanding the 1967 penny is market dynamics and scarcity analysis. While billions of 1967 cents were minted, the majority circulated extensively, leading to natural wear, discoloration, and minor damage. Consequently, truly high-grade uncirculated examples, especially those retaining full red color (RD) or exhibiting exceptional eye appeal, are comparatively rare. Certified MS-66RD or higher coins are particularly sought after because they represent a combination of rarity, preservation, and visual appeal, qualities that casual circulated coins simply cannot match. Population reports from PCGS, NGC, and ANAX are key tools for collectors and investors alike. These reports list the number of certified coins by grade and surface type, helping collectors identify scarcity patterns. For example, while tens of millions of 1967 pennies exist in circulation, only a fraction survive in top-grade MS-66 or MS-67 RD condition. These reports also allow collectors to track trends over time, observing which grades are appearing more frequently at auction and which are becoming harder to acquire. Understanding these patterns can inform strategic buying and selling decisions. Provenance is another critical factor. A coin's history, including previous ownership, notable collections, and documented auction sales, can add tangible and intangible value. For example, a 1967 MS-66 penny that was once part of a famous Lincoln cent collection or featured in a reputable numismatic publication will often command higher premiums than an otherwise identical coin with no provenance. Collectors increasingly recognize the importance of traceable histories in establishing authenticity and desirability. When it comes to grading minutiae, subtle distinctions matter. The 1967 cent may appear uniform to the casual eye, but professionals examine details like the sharpness of Lincoln's hairlines, the definition of the memorial steps on the reverse, and micro scratches or planchet imperfections. Luster patterns are scrutinized under angled lighting. Tiny hairlines or contact marks can impact the grade. Even slight differences in red coloration or brown toning can differentiate an MS-65 from an MS-66, or an MS-66RD from an MS-67RD. These minute distinctions carry measurable effects on market value. Handling and storage best practices remain essential for collectors seeking to preserve high-grade examples. Coins should be held by the edges, ideally using cotton gloves, and stored in acid-free holders, flips, or capsules. Temperature and humidity control are crucial, as even minor environmental fluctuations can lead to toning, oxidation, or surface degradation. Experienced collectors maintain meticulous inventories, labeling each coin with its date, grade, certification number, and any notable characteristics. This level of organization is essential when building large Lincoln cent sets or preparing coins for auction. Collector psychology also plays a pivotal role. Many enthusiasts are drawn to coins like the 1967 penny because of the thrill of discovery. The hope that a seemingly ordinary coin might conceal subtle errors or exist in uncommonly high grade. This psychological appeal drives searches through circulation, bulk rolls, and inherited collections. It also explains why sensational myths about multimillion-dollar values persist online. The story of hidden treasure resonates more than mundane realities. Understanding this psychology helps collectors make rational decisions, avoiding hype while appreciating the excitement of the hunt. From a historical perspective, the 1967 penny is emblematic of mid-20th century America. It circulated during a time of significant social, economic, and technological change: the Vietnam War, civil rights movements, the space race, and an expanding consumer economy. Each coin passed through countless hands, witnessed everyday life, and became part of the nation's fabric. As such, it is both a tangible historical artifact and a lens through which we can explore the era's social dynamics. Investment potential of the 1967 penny is modest but tangible. While it will not achieve the astronomical, often quoted values seen in online myths, top-grade certified examples retain steady collector demand. The combination of scarcity in uncirculated condition, aesthetic appeal, and historical significance ensures that the highest quality coins maintain stable, modest appreciation over time. Strategic acquisition, proper grading, and secure storage maximize long-term value while minimizing risk. Finally, storytelling brings the coin to life. A hobbyist discovering a high-grade 1967 penny in circulation, an inherited roll revealing uncirculated examples, or a coin verified as part of a historic collection all illustrates the interplay of history, luck, and meticulous observation. These stories underscore why numismatics is more than investment or hobby. It is a way to connect with history, develop analytical skills, and experience the thrill of discovery. Part 9 deepens the narrative by examining market data, grading subtleties, provenance importance, collector psychology, and historical context, all of which enrich the 1967 penny's story. As we bring the story of the 1967 Lincoln cent to a close, it is important to reflect on its legacy. Though it is a low-denomination coin, it embodies a rich combination of historical context, design mastery, and cultural significance. Every 1967 penny carries with it the imprint of mid-20th century America, the economic optimism of the post-war era, the social changes taking place across the nation, and the technological precision of the United States Mint at the time. It is a coin that has passed through countless hands, from cash registers to piggy banks to coin collections, each transfer adding to its story. The 1967 penny also represents a transition point in minting history. It is among the last series of Lincoln cents struck in the classic 95% copper composition, before the 1982 switch to copper-plated zinc. This gives it both numismatic and metallurgical interest. Collectors appreciate its feel, weight, and color, which differ noticeably from modern cents. Its status as a fully bronze coin makes it appealing not only as a collector's item but also as a specimen for those interested in the intrinsic value of copper, without relying on myths of extreme financial worth. Collector culture continues to breathe life into coins like the 1967 cent. Enthusiasts worldwide examine these pennies under magnification, study minute die variations, and meticulously grade them for eye appeal, color, and strike quality. Some focus on bulk accumulation for copper content, while others seek the rare uncirculated gem or a subtle mint error. Online communities, coin clubs, and numismatic publications create shared knowledge, mentorship, and collaboration that allow both new and experienced collectors to grow. These networks help separate authentic discoveries from exaggerated myths, reinforcing the coin's true value, both educational and historical. The psychology of collecting plays an essential role. The 1967 penny is a perfect example of how a simple object can inspire passion, patience, and attention to detail. Even though billions were minted, discovering a high-grade RD specimen or a subtle error can spark excitement, curiosity, and a deeper engagement with history. Collectors are drawn not only to monetary value but also to the thrill of discovery and the satisfaction of preserving a piece of the past. From a market perspective, realistic valuation is key. High-grade MS-66, MS-67 RD examples and documented error coins are the most valuable. While online myths occasionally inflate figures to implausible amounts, documented sales, grading population reports, and verified auction results provide accurate benchmarks. Unlike circulating coins, which are common, certified high-grade examples reflect both scarcity and quality, giving collectors a stable and measurable return on their investment over time. The cultural significance of the 1967 penny extends beyond numismatics. It represents a connection to Abraham Lincoln, to the Lincoln Memorial, and to a time in America when coins were central to daily life. It is a reminder that even small, common objects can have profound historical and emotional resonance. Whether stored in a collection, handed down through generations, or discovered in a jar of change, the 1967 penny tells a story of continuity, craftsmanship, and national identity. In reflective storytelling, one can imagine the journeys these coins have taken, the hands that spent them, the pockets and purses that carried them, the cash registers that rang for small purchases, and the coin albums that preserved them. Each coin is a microcosm of history, an intersection of economy, culture, and personal memory. High-grade examples, carefully stored and documented, carry both aesthetic and historical significance, while ordinary circulated coins still serve as reminders of everyday life in the 1960s. Looking to the future, the 1967 Lincoln cent will continue to inspire collectors. Population attrition, due to loss, damage, or private hoarding, gradually increases scarcity in high-grade specimens. The coin's appeal as a teaching tool for grading, historical study, and numismatic methodology ensures it remains relevant for future generations. Its dual identity, as both a piece of American history and a collectible item, makes it a versatile and enduring subject for numismatic education, research, and personal enjoyment. In summary, the 1967 penny may seem modest in face value, but it is rich in history, cultural significance, and educational potential. It offers lessons in minting, metallurgy, grading, collector psychology, market dynamics, and historical context. While myths of extreme financial value persist online, the true worth of the coin lies in its stories, its connection to the past, and the joy it brings to collectors worldwide. As we conclude this exploration, the 1967 Lincoln cent stands as a symbol of how even the smallest objects can carry immense significance. It is a tangible link to history, a canvas for meticulous study, a vehicle for learning about markets and human behavior, and a treasured collectible for enthusiasts around the world. Whether you encounter one in your pocket, inherit a roll of pennies, or acquire a high-grade certified example, the 1967 penny reminds us that value is not solely measured in dollars, it is measured in history, discovery, and connection. This completes the narrative journey of the 1967 Lincoln cent, covering composition, minting, grading, errors, market dynamics, collector psychology, historical significance, hoarding strategies, and cultural legacy. With all 10 parts combined, this material forms a fully comprehensive long-form YouTube script, ready for narration and storytelling.